Hello, it's me. So today I was going to do a video on why Labour are so silent on social media when Restore are so vocal. And I'll tell you why quite quickly. It's because the MSM hate Jeremy Corbyn. He does stand to be the biggest threat to the system as it stands. But let's not decry the efforts of Rupert Lowe to be a massive pain in the arse to the system. At this point, I think the British Broadcasting Company, the BBC, and the government see Rupert Lowe and Jeremy Corbyn as two sides of the same coin. However, Rupert Lowe and Restore are in the social media space, much more, it seems, than your party. And one has to ask oneself, why would that be? And I have a theory. Outrage. Not the luxurious kind of outrage that people who are connected to your party feel when they are presented with Palestine and Gaza. Now, I'm not saying that the Palestinian issue and Gaza aren't a problem worth getting stuck into. It needs to be resolved. People need to stop being killed now. But I found the same problem followed the Democrats round in the US. They were talking about problems overseas. It was always somebody else's issue that they were involved with. And it seems to me to be the same with your party. Not entirely, of course, but I do wonder if that's why there isn't as much resonance with the British public. The questions are, is your party saying enough about issues at home? Are they setting fire to issues at home and using those flames to illuminate the way forward for the British public? And I don't think that they are. I think that Rupert Lowe and Restore are setting fire to every home issue they can, and they are welcoming everybody in who has a legitimate concern around these issues to come and warm their hands. And let's be clear, the kind of people who are being propelled towards Restore Britain have a great deal of outrage towards the system that they currently find themselves in. And the main issue, it seems, being the issue of immigration, let alone those other important issues of governmental fraud, misappropriation, and mismanagement. These are the problems that concern the British people right here, right now. Palestine is an ocean away. And whereas it needs to be solved, it needs to be dealt with, as I said, the killing needs to stop now. Rupert Lowe is saying that the killing needs to stop now here in the UK. That these immigrant men who have attacked and British citizens, that needs to stop. Is this why your party seems to appear irrelevant to the British public? They've nailed their colours to the mast of multiculturalism and now find themselves in a difficult position and they can't decry the immigration situation? Well, as a lefty myself, I think there's a way forward on this. I think Corbyn and your party should start delivering the message loud and clear. We are for multiculturalism. We are for legal immigration, but we are against any illegal acts attached to it. No, my personal favourite solution to this is that the system should be robust. Many people should be employed to carry this out. Give people jobs, make sure they're professional, and get them assessing anybody who wants to come into this country. And anybody who doesn't fit the bill, get rid of them. Now, I know that when I started this video, I said that I was going to do a video on the subject that I just talked on. And it turns out I've just done a video on the subject that I've just talked on. This happened. Let me turn the volume down. That's better, isn't it? We don't have to listen to that nasal drone. That pitiful excuse for a voice. Keir Starmer has banned anyone under the age of 16 from using social media. Now, I'm no social media scientist, but how are they going to enforce this? How does this work? Now, I know the Prime Minister has said that they're going to put the onus on the various platforms themselves in order to carry out this instruction. thereby happily not criminalising the parents or the children. I can't believe I just said that, criminalising the children in the UK in the 21st century. Yeah. But how does this work? There's just been a great furore with X in the British government. I believe with a post by Katie Price. The British government issued a cease and desist to X, the social media platform, and X just basically, I think, ignored it. It cited its own US sovereignty and showed the British government its middle finger. And what about the parents? How does this work for them? And what about the parents? How does this work for them? Last week, I went to see a movie, the Disclosure Day movie by Steven Spielberg. And whilst we were waiting to go in, we decided to have some takeaway food. A real treat for us. We very rarely eat takeaway food. And whilst we were in the burger bar of our choice, a group of young lads came in. They must have been, I don't know, between 13 and 16 years of age. They were quite respectful. They weren't too boisterous. It was quite nice to see a couple of them had just had fresh haircuts, and they all looked very smart. And I know as a young man that was very important to me. I was not always the slovenly individual that you see before you today. And these kids, they all had mobile phones. Doubtless bought for them by their parents. Possibly even multi-phone contracts via their parents. Are the parents expected to contact these various platforms that the government want to ban under 16s from and say, oh, we've got 4 phones in the house, 1 for my husband, 1 for me, and 2 for the kids, and these are the phones that you have to... I mean, that's putting the onus on the parents to do this. Are the kids expected to ban themselves by owning up to having a phone? Now, it's very difficult for me because I kind of almost agree with this ban. I don't think it should be a ban, but what else is there? Too many children, in my opinion, and there is no doubt, my age has something to do with this. When I was that age, I never had a mobile phone. They weren't even a thing. The closest we had was watching Star Trek and the Star Trek Communicator, and it was pure science fiction fantasy, which I thought was wonderful. And now we all have a device in our pockets, in our hands, that can do more than just the Star Trek Communicator could do. Granted, it won't let us speak to the USS Enterprise circling in orbit, but then give it time. All I can say is I can see this ban as being entirely unworkable. The internet doesn't work that way. It's a nebulous thing. It defies capture. It defies corralling. And for all the measures that the British government has taken to introduce digital ID, etc., it appears as though they have a plan, but it just keeps falling flat on its face. The British government is engaged in a digital game of gathering up water with a sieve. Somehow children need to have that balance, in my opinion, of the digital media thing and the ability to live out their childhoods in a wholesome and fulfilling way. Wouldn't it just be easier to have the phones only work for a few hours a day in the evening or during the morning? Then there's an automatic system that shuts it off and they can't access it. Oh, I can hear the cries of "you communist!" Well, I kind of get where you're coming from, but how many solutions are there? And granted, I've not given this a great deal of thought, but the more complicated you make these solutions, as per our wonderful Prime Minister here, the more unworkable those solutions become. If it's a choice of returning the UK to some form of imperfect common sense like we used to have, then that's a choice I'd make against what this man is offering. The world is an imperfect place, and it's up to us individually to make it better. The government in the UK has, over the last 60 years or so, decided that it's going to not do the one thing that it should do, and that is include the parents, empower the parents, educate the parents. That's where the answer lies. Education, education, education. And there has never been any substitute for education. We need to empower our citizens. The government needs to throw its weight behind its citizenry. to give it the credit it deserves, and to make us the powerhouse that the UK runs on. The nanny state, in my opinion, has tipped over into draconianism. And the situation we currently find ourselves, with all the measures being taken by possibly the most unpopular government we've ever had, is simply the result of years of hard work on their part to undermine its citizenry, to make us less active politically, to, in some ways, in many ways, dumb us down, to keep us occupied with various tasks like the recycling, the paying of bills, 20-mile-an-hour speed limits, arrests for speaking out of turn online. It's never too late to pull back on the reins. It's never too late to take back control. And in the UK today, there are at least, happily, 2 political parties that stand to make a mess of the system. One, however, is making a lot more noise than the other. The political choices here in the UK are poor, and the only question that remains, whether you like or despise Rupert Lowe, whether you like or despise Jeremy Corbyn, who will you vote for? Do let me know what you think in the comments below. Do like, subscribe and share, it really would help the channel. And until next time, do look after yourselves.